Good afternoon, welcome to Northeast Energy News. I am Marie Ritzert. Today we are looking at the future of energy in Aberdeen. Renewables in all shapes and sizes are being developed in and around Aberdeenshire. We focus on projects in Tullows, Peterhead and Braemar. We will also take a look at the human cost of the energy crisis. But first, let's discuss some of the numbers from the current state of the oil industry.
Good afternoon, I'm Gordon McPhail. As we can see in the past 5 years, world oil production has steadily increased from around 88 million barrels a day in 2010 to almost 95 million barrels this year. The reason behind this is that oil companies have found new ways to drill for oil, for example through shale and fracking. The consumption of oil has increased as well, however since mid-2014 the supply of oil has constantly outweighed the demand. Naturally, when the supply of something goes up, the price will come down, and that's exactly what happened to the price of oil. Now let's have a look at the price of oil for the past week. Last week began with the price of Brent oil sitting at around $43 per barrel. Following OPEC's decision over a week ago to get rid of the limit on oil production, Brent oil prices fell throughout the week to under $40 on Friday. Today, when the top market opened, the price of Brent crude sat at $37.43, the lowest it's been since 2008, and further losses could be on the cards. As the price of crude oil falls, so does the price of petrol. With it being its lowest in years, petrol consumers will be reaping the benefits of the current forecast. Thank you very much.
From 2020, landfill waste is no longer allowed in the UK. We need to find alternatives. Plans to build an incinerator in Tullows are awaiting approval from City Council. Julia Botaro was on the scene.
Aberdonians are on the fence about the proposal for a £120 million incinerator to be built in Tullows. Councillors are voting this month to pass a facility that will convert up to 150,000 tonnes of non-recyclable waste coming from Aberdeen, the Shire and Moray. It is not yet clear whether this energy would be distributed in the area or sold elsewhere.
It will actually be built to the highest European standards, and that will be in terms of low emissions and high heat output, so as we can actually use it for the district heating network. Some of the plants that I visited throughout the UK, there's been no smelt whatsoever.
Even though the facility is up to the standards imposed by the government, the residents of the nearby area Tory still have some concerns, and while most feel calm, others are fired up about it.
We're going to save a lot of money and a lot of space, not just for me, but for my daughter there and for her generation. So we have to look forward to these things.
On Menzies Road, when I go to Tesco's and things, I think the traffic will be increased.
They should be building the incinerator out in the countryside somewhere, so it's away from the town here.
Look, Tory are not very happy about this at all. There are several reasons, but they all come down to quality of life, quality of air, and it's felt that this is an imposition that's unfair on Tory to put a major industrial process so close to a residential community.
The facility will be built here, with the nearest house located just a few hundred meters away. If plans go ahead, it will be ready and functioning by 2020. For now, the wait is on for the decision to be made. Until then, residents are in the dark about the future of this area.
Despite the recent decision of Westminster to cut funding for renewables, Scotland leads the race to green energy with the development of the world's largest floating wind farm to be installed right off the coast of Peterhead.
So that close proximity to the location makes Peterhead the ideal base both for supporting the construction phase, but also in the longer term the operations maintenance and of course the testing, because in the end what they're trying to do is create the best solution that they can for commercialisation, so that these floating turbines can be installed in much larger developments elsewhere.
Half of Braemar will be supplied with renewable energy next summer, but ideas to power all of the village with green energy have been abandoned. Max Merkel explains why.
What would you do if you lived here in Braemar, surrounded by rivers, lochs and burns? Would you learn to fish, go swimming in the summer, or maybe ice skating in the winter? Well, how about crowdfunding a community hydropower plant? That is exactly what 200 people here in Braemar have done. They have gotten together and put in their own money to fund the turbine up in the mountains. It'll supply roughly 50% of all energy needs of the village. But a state subsidy for feed-in energy tariffs is reduced. It might be one of the last projects of its kind.
Subsidy of small-scale green energy producers through the government feed-in tariff scheme
was reduced by 20% last year. Westminster has announced further cuts of 30% to the Enterprise Investment Scheme that offers tax relief for investment in startup companies. Co-director of Braemar Community Hydro, David Sherrod, says that government subsidy was detrimental to the construction of the £800,000 power plant.
Schemes such as this, small-scale hydro schemes, really have benefited from government incentives. In our case, the scheme is a feed-in tariff scheme, so for every unit of electricity we generate, we get a subsidised price for the electricity. Without that incentive, frankly, a scheme of this small size wouldn't have been possible.
Construction work at the Corriemulsey burn will finish in mid-2016. Many people in the village are eager to invest in green energy, but the loss of subsidies means new small-scale ventures may not be feasible in the future. Despite having to wait 20 years for the return of his money, owner of Taste Coffee Shop in Braemar, David Evans, would not hesitate to invest again.
As I say, a project like that, which has a minimal environmental impact but has so many benefits from the green energy, if the whole village could be supplied in a similar fashion, I think it would be wonderful.
It seems that potential investors might need to look further afield to buy into renewable energy, as the resources in their back garden seem to have dried up for now.
An Aberdeen Buddhist monk has become a rock of support to redundant oil workers who are trying to get their life back on track in a time of such despair. Simona Bisiani reports.
We are all well aware that the oil crisis led to massive job cuts. But have we been able to go beyond numbers and understand the challenges that real people are facing? Being redundant not only means losing your job, but having to reinvent your lifestyle with new inescapable financial and emotional problems. Many bask in denial and disillusion. However, some Aberdonians have found support in Buddhism through meditation.
Even though I've got no money, through Buddhism I've learned how to share. It's the most important thing in your life is don't people think about what they've not got. Be happy what you've got, and what you've got, make the most of, and if you can share it. Don't be selfish.
Every Tuesday night, Colin comes here to attend meditation sessions. They're held by Venerable Sujan, a Buddhist monk from Nepal. He does not offer financial help, but counsels those in need. He also made an appeal for the Press and Journal to stress the importance of assisting former oil workers.
I think it's a community that we have to talk together rather than neglecting. Everybody knows that this job crisis is there and everybody facing the problem, but nobody is talking how can we help. So that's why we thought we have to do something to create awareness.
Ben's drive to help and share his philosophy of life has created a wide circle of friends who come to visit him at his Constitution Street flat. His religious belief does not allow him to work and have an income. His survival in this expensive city is therefore determined only by the donations made by the people he supports in the first place.
What does the future hold for Scotland and Aberdeen? Earlier today, Marie sat down with energy expert Alex Russell.
On Saturday, at the Paris Climate Conference, nearly 200 nations signed an agreement to cut greenhouse gas emissions and to limit temperature rises. Almost 2 decades after the Kyoto Protocol, it forms a legally binding agreement that some say will form the end of the fossil fuel era. Today we talk with energy expert Alex Russell. We're very happy to have him with us. He is often cited in the media and widely regarded as an expert. Thank you very much for being here.
Very happy to be here, thanks.
I see. So let's dive in with a big question. The Paris Agreement doesn't bode well for the industry that's already struggling. Do you believe the industry will recover?
If we are talking about the oil and gas industry, I very much hope it will recover. It will depend on a change of attitude to what is currently the case in the UK. For example, I think there has to be a longer term perspective adopted. What we really need to do is to find out where the future reserves of oil are in the North Sea and in the Atlantic, and make sure that we have an industry there to actually take advantage of it when the oil price eventually rises.
But that's oil, and oil will at a certain point be gone. Doesn't this mean we're fighting a losing battle? Don't we have to go to renewables?
Well, Scotland has been ahead of the game in creating energy, electricity from renewables, far ahead of the rest of the UK. It's a real pity that the UK government have now dealt a blow to the renewables industry by removing subsidies, removing offshore subsidies, and even stopping the carbon capture schemes that were about to take place in Peterhead, for example. As far as oil is concerned, I think for transport, the world will need oil for the next 50, 60, 70 years. I don't think that will change. What will change is the use of other fossil fuels like coal for electricity generation.
So you believe we are going back to coal, or that we're moving away from coal?
I believe that we are moving away from coal. I think there will be an ultimate ban on the use of coal, for example. And what we need to do is allow India, for example, to take advantage of whatever coal they have to some degree. We cannot, for example, say that we will exploit coal through undersea combustion and having the gas coming out if we are denying other countries the opportunity to exploit their coal reserves.
Now, maybe to end it off, the future of the Granite City, the big industry is oil here. What does it hold for Granite City?
I still very much hope that oil will be central to Aberdeen for the next 50, 60 years. We have huge reserves of oil out there, more than has already been exploited. The only difference now is we have oil at $38 a barrel. It's not viable to do that at the moment, but it will be viable in the future.
Thank you very much for coming here.
You're welcome.
And with that, we've come to the end of our show. We went over many issues and could go on for hours, but for now, let's just remember that while the oil crisis continues in Scotland, Scotland is branching out to other fields to ensure a bright future.
We were Marie Rutzert and Gordon McPhail. Thank you for watching Northeast Energy News, and have a nice day.